Why do some people struggle to fully grow up, forever clinging to childhood dreams, behaviors, or dependencies? Why do they fear responsibility and seek comfort in the past rather than embracing the future? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, identified a powerful archetype that explains this phenomenon, the Puer Aeternus, or the eternal child. This psychological pattern affects millions of people without them even realizing it, keeping them stuck in cycles of avoidance, fantasy, and unfulfilled potential. In this deep exploration, we will unravel the mystery of the eternal child, what it is, why it develops, how it manifests in adulthood, and most importantly, how to break free and finally step into true maturity. But first, we must understand the fundamental nature of archetypes in Jungian psychology, the power of archetypes, the eternal child as a universal pattern. Carl Jung proposed that all human beings are shaped by universal patterns of the unconscious mind, called archetypes. These archetypes influence our behaviors, desires, and fears, often without us realizing it. The Puer Aeternus is one such archetype, an image of the child who refuses to grow up, who remains in a state of perpetual youth, idealism, and naivety. This is the Peter Pan complex, but much deeper than a simple refusal to take on responsibility. It is an unconscious, powerful psychological force that dictates a person's entire approach to life. In mythology, this archetype appears in figures like Icarus, who soared too close to the sun and fell because he lacked discipline, or Narcissus, who became trapped in his own reflection. In modern culture, we see it in characters like Peter Pan, who never wants to leave Neverland, or even in highly successful yet deeply troubled individuals who sabotage themselves because they fear structure, commitment, or authority. But why does this archetype take hold of certain people so strongly? To understand that, we must look at its origins in early life, the birth of the eternal child, how it develops. No one is born an eternal child. Instead, this pattern is formed through specific childhood experiences and environments. There are several key factors that create the eternal child. 1. Overprotective or overindulgent parenting. If a child is raised in an environment where they are shielded from difficulty, responsibility, and consequences, they never develop resilience. If everything is done for them, they learn to expect life to always be comfortable, easy, and effortless. As adults, they avoid struggle, resist authority, and fail to develop independence. 2. Trauma and the escape into fantasy. Some children experience pain, neglect, or hardship early in life, and rather than confronting it, they escape into dreams, stories, and fantasies. They learn to live in their imaginations rather than reality, forming an idealized world where they never have to grow up. This becomes dangerous in adulthood when reality no longer meets their romanticized expectations. 3. Fear of failure and rejection. A child who is harshly criticized or punished for making mistakes may develop a fear of imperfection. Rather than risk failing, they avoid commitment, challenges, and responsibility, remaining in a safe, childish state where nothing is expected of them. This often leads to chronic procrastination and fear of making decisions. How the eternal child manifests in adulthood. The Puer Aeternus doesn't just exist in childhood, it follows a person into adulthood, shaping their relationships, careers, and personal development. Here are some of the ways it manifests. 1. The avoidance of responsibility. The eternal child seeks freedom over stability, preferring a life without structure. They avoid making long-term commitments in relationships, work, or personal growth. The idea of settling down, building a career, or facing difficult emotions feels suffocating. 2. The addiction to novelty and excitement. They are constantly seeking the next high, the the next adventure, or the next distraction. This can manifest as impulsivity, thrill-seeking, and an inability to sustain effort toward long-term goals. If something requires patience or discipline, they lose interest quickly and move on. 3. The fear of growing old. Unlike the mature individual who embraces aging as part of life's journey, the eternal child fears getting older because it represents loss of youth, fun, and freedom. This often results in midlife crises, where they desperately try to cling to their younger identity. 4. Unhealthy dependency on others. They seek parental figures in romantic partners, friends, or authority figures, expecting others to take care of them. They may act helpless or demand constant validation and support. 5. The fantasy of one day. The eternal child believes that one day their life will magically fall into place, that they will wake up rich, successful, or fulfilled without taking action. This leads to chronic procrastination and inaction, as they keep waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. The shadow of the eternal child, the dangerous side. At first glance, the eternal child might seem harmless, even charming. But beneath this innocence lies a shadow, a darker side that sabotages personal growth and fulfillment. Jung warned that those trapped in the Puer Aeternus archetype risk living a life of regret, loneliness, and unrealized potential. If they never overcome it, they become the lost dreamer, stuck in illusions, never achieving anything, the wanderer, forever searching, never finding stability, the dependent, relying on others, never standing on their own feet. So how do you escape this trap? To break free from the eternal child, one must undergo individuation, Jung's process of integrating the unconscious mind with the conscious self. Here's how to start. 1. Accept that growth requires struggle. Adulthood is not about abandoning joy, but about balancing it with responsibility. Growth comes through pain, effort, and sacrifice, but this is what makes life meaningful. 2. Confront your fear of failure. Embrace mistakes as learning experiences rather than running from them. Take small, consistent steps toward goals, even if they're uncomfortable. 3. Stop seeking perfection and start taking action. The eternal child waits for the perfect moment, but it never comes. Start now with what you have. The only way to grow is to act. 4. Develop inner strength, not external validation. True maturity is not about seeking approval, but knowing yourself and standing firm. Stop looking for a parental figure to guide you. Become your own guide. The eternal child is not evil. It is simply an undeveloped part of the psyche. The goal is not to destroy it, but to integrate it, so that we retain our youthful wonder while also embracing the wisdom of adulthood. Maturity is not the loss of freedom. It is the ability to create your own destiny. So, are you ready to step out of the eternal child and into your true potential?